Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to move forward, and I appreciate your patience. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here. I know that these are incredibly challenging times, and for you to just take a moment for yourself is really important. And I want you to know that I take that as a sign of self-care and resistance. So welcome. And whether you're joining me from your home office or from work, or you're outside taking a walk or whatever it may be, I just want to say that you are welcome here no matter how you're feeling, whether you're excited, whether you barely made it, whether you're sleepy, whether you're upset about something that just happened. Just take a deep breath and let's just spend this time together being in community. How many of you on this call, raise your hand if you are in academia or consider yourself an academic or a scholar? Awesome. Okay, I see you. All right. Looks like everyone, if not the majority here. So welcome. I consider myself a recovering academic. I'm sure you can appreciate that. And I'll tell you much more about it as we keep going. But I think one thing that I've heard from a lot of my clients this year is, and especially since January, is that there is deep low morale. There's a feeling of writing, really, is this pointless with everything going on in the world? Or that they're a quote unquote slow writer, which I think is actually more of a thoughtful writer than a slow writer. These are difficult times. They always are if you're in academia, but especially now, these are times when it's very easy and understandable to just want to dig a hole in the ground and put your head in it. But I want to tell you that your writing is resistance and that your writing is survival. It's the way that you're going to keep your energy up. It's the way that you're going to impact communities and so forth. So hang in there with me. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you can expect from the webinar. This webinar is designed to really view our writing differently, right? That it's not about perfection. It's about getting as close as possible to our authentic voice. And that takes a lot of work and patience, but it's also so worthwhile. I can tell you that after writing two books and about 30 articles or so, that the one place that I have found kind of a sacred release and a sacred haven is within my writing. When done in a way that's not colonial, right? In a way where we're using our agency to actually write and not feeling that pressure, that urgency that seems to crop up in every stage of academia. I once had a mentor tell me, there is no such thing as an emergency in academia. Let that sink in for a minute. A true emergency. And yet, everything in academia feels like it's an emergency. Even now, things may feel urgent and difficult, but you can concentrate on your own locus of control where you have the power and the agency. So, I also want to mention that by the end of this webinar, my goal is for you to feel more encouraged, more in a place that is solid versus slipping, and to better understand how your worth as a writer impacts the actual writing that you do. If we were to do a chat, which is not active right now, I would ask you to describe how writing makes you feel or how it's making you feel today. So I just want you to think about that for a moment. How is your writing making you feel today? Does it make you feel energized? Does it make you feel like you just can't stand your writing anymore? And if you have to look at it one more time, you just don't know what you're going to do with yourself. We've all been there. And I want to tell you that before we dive in, I created this anchor writing framework based on my own 30 years of experience as a writer and as a teacher. I have stared at blank pages. I've been in front of a laptop for hours, just basically procrastinating. Instead of writing, I end up doing Canva, PowerPoint slides, or I change my website for the millionth time, doing things that really don't require any urgency at all, but help me feel like I'm actually working when I'm not. And I just want you to know that if you've ever felt overwhelmed by expectations, or you feel like your words aren't good enough or academic enough, that you're not alone. You are not broken. Tell you, I meet with people every day because they feel that their writing isn't good enough. And so, what I want to say is that is not an accident. It is how we are conditioned, especially if we come from marginalized identities, to think about our writing from this very deficit perspective. And as we're going through this session today, I want you to keep this question in your mind. What's keeping you from writing with clarity, confidence, and momentum? And if you've ever felt blocked by your writing, scattered or stuck in endless revisions, you are absolutely in the right place. And if you love this vibe that you're going to get from this webinar, I'm going to encourage you to join us in the Anchor Writing Collective, which is a subscription-based group where you can take the full Anchor Writing Framework course. It's 12 modules. And aside from that, though, it's just a wonderful community. And right now, it's especially delicious because we need community so badly just to get through each day. So here's what you can expect today. We're going to go through the Anchor Writing Framework, just little bits and pieces. I'm going to give you a flavor for them. And then we're going to explore some writing strategies. And then I'll share how we can continue to work together. So if you're ready to dive in, raise your hand. If you're here and you're ready, raise your hand. Let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're, if not happy to be here, at least present. Awesome, awesome. I see all of you. So let's go ahead and move forward. Okay, so this is how writing makes me feel sometimes. And actually these days, this is how I wake up looking, or at least I feel like I look like this. And if you've ever felt this way with your writing, if you're feeling that now, you're not alone. In fact, this was pretty much how I felt last Friday, when I decided to take a day, and I had the luxury of having an entire day to work on my third book, which is not academic, which is on the Anchor Writing Framework. And I just thought, what am I thinking? Why am I writing another book? What am I doing to myself? But then I had a reframe and I was like, wow, I get to write. I have the privilege of writing. I have the talent to write. I get to write a book that is non-academic, but that is going to speak to academics. So this reframing is something that I'm constantly doing. And writing amidst this never-ending news cycle, social media, doom scrolling, and everything happening in the world, it's no wonder why all of us are feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, somehow disconnected, and very defensive. Understandably, higher education is and always will be under attack to different extents. But here's the thing, writing can really serve as an anchor during this time. I want you to reshape the way that you think about writing. What if writing wasn't a chore? What if writing wasn't like, oh, I just have to do this for tenure? What if writing was actually what helped you make sense of the chaos? What helps you reconnect with what matters? What helps you carve out a space of identity where you can actually be your real self? That would be a real transformation. And it's something that is absolutely possible, but you have to have the pieces in place in order to make that happen. So today we're going to shift from this frazzled cat energy to feeling more steady, more focused, more connected with our bodies without ignoring the realities that we're living. I'm not suggesting that you use writing so much as an escape. Instead, use it, weaponize it. And that in the most peaceful way possible is to really use it as your defense, but as your armor, but also as your sword, as the way to fight those things that make you angry and depressed and fearful and just irate. That's why I write, is really to emotionally regulate. So if that all sounds good, then let's get moving. So who is this for? So I want to talk about this because if you're here, I'm guessing that at least one of these statements that I'm going to read to you is going to sound familiar. And if it does, as I'm reading these out, I would love for you to just raise your hand if any, as I call these out, if they actually speak to you. So you have a writing project. It might be an article, a book, a dissertation, a proposal, but you feel stuck, scattered, or overwhelmed trying to get it done. You constantly put off writing because you don't know where to start, or when you do start, you immediately second guess yourself. Yes, this is what we call editing as we write. Do not do that. I was just with a client on Friday who spent the whole day on 2 paragraphs because he could not get out of the editing mode. And he also revealed that it made him feel, it was like immediate satisfaction, like to be able to edit it right away, but it was getting in the way of him writing a page. Do not edit as you write. Write super shitty on purpose first. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck on the same 2 paragraphs. Okay, here's another one. You've spent way too much time staring at a blinking cursor, rewriting the same sentence over and over, trying to make it perfect. Again, editing as you write. Don't do that. Instead, put a placeholder on there if you want and say, come back to this. But you've got to let all the shit out first. Don't be cleaning the mess as you go. This isn't making food in a kitchen or something. You've got to let it all out first. Okay, here's another one. You have something important to say, but perfectionism, procrastination, or plain old exhaustion keeps getting in the way. Does that resonate with you? Or sometimes you have something important to say and you're so good at saying it out loud. Like when you're at a meeting or at a conference or talking with a friend, and yet when it comes to writing about it, it's like you draw a complete blank. You feel like, okay, this doesn't sound important anymore. It only sounds important when I say it out loud. So here's a quick tip. Record yourself. This is what I do with my clients all the time is we have a conversation for an hour, we record it, I send them the transcription. That's their first draft. Easy as that, really. It's the way to get those ideas out without judging yourself. Okay, here's another one. You're navigating a high stakes academic or professional environment where publishing, writing, or producing content is expected, but no one ever really taught you how to do it in a sustainable way. Or you never really learned how to write, per se, like in graduate school. Did anyone have a course on how to publish an article, how to write? I didn't have one. And we didn't offer one in my program where when I was a professor. You can't expect to do something if you weren't taught how to do it. Maybe you're just tired of feeling like writing is something you should be doing instead of something you actually feel good about doing. So it just feels, oh God, I've got to write. I don't want to write, but I'm going to. Okay, we're going to get out of that funk. We've got to get out of that funk. You have the power to get out of that funk. I swear to you. And so if you nodded along and I saw people raising their hands, you are absolutely in the right place. And this webinar and this space that's called the Anchor Writing Collective, which I'll talk about at the end, is exactly this energy. It's for writers, scholars, creatives, and thinkers who want to move from frustration to flow, from scattered to focused, right? And where writing doesn't have to feel like a struggle, it can feel like an act of resistance and an act of community. So that is my hope for today. So let's go ahead and continue. So glad you all are here. I declare 2025 is going to be all about community because God knows nobody's saving us except for each other. And so it's a time when so many forces right now are pushing us towards isolation. And really, we need to be the opposite. It's more important than ever to lean into this kind of collective support and well being. Writing does not have to be lonely. Writing does not have to be a struggle. Writing does not have to be a chore. We need to break free from these cycles of individualism and burnout by being part of something bigger. And we need to rewrite the narrative that says writing is equivalent to suffering. What we need to do right now is we need to lean in on one another and not feel guilt or shame over anything, because those two qualities will not move you forward. They'll keep you stuck and within your body. So, as we go through today's session, I want you to hold on to this thought. Your writing is not just yours. Your writing is part of something bigger, it's part of a collective, it's part of a movement, and it's part of a legacy. And what we need now is to lean into the idea that freedom for any single individual is inadequate, right? That writing for itself, for the self, is not enough. We have to write and we have to think bigger, not make ourselves small, but really use and leverage our capital to use our writing toward the greater good. And today is one of those examples of that collective power. So in the next 45 minutes, this is what you can expect. One is that we're going to get real about what your writing experience feels like and why you may be feeling stagnant and frustrated. And it might not be for the reasons that you think. Spoiler alert, it's not because you're a bad writer. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're not a real writer. There are real systematic reasons behind the struggle, and we're going to name them together. And we're going to leave this call feeling like, hell yeah, I'm going to write like my life depends on it, because it does. And a lot of other lives depend on your writing as well. No pressure, right? So, second, we're going to touch on how to build effective writing practices. And don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to write 15 minutes a day. That actually worked for me for maybe a couple of months. And then I realized, you know what, we're all different and we all learn differently pedagogically. That's usually not the case, that there's a one size fits all for everyone. And third, I'm going to show you how to use the anchor framework to write more boldly and courageously. And instead of writing for or waiting for inspiration to strike, I really want to teach you how to write out of a sense of just ordinariness every day, doing a repeatable process. Sometimes it's when you can. That makes writing feel doable and also makes it feel like something that you're going to look forward to doing versus dreading. And so when we write in community, we're really writing in resistance and with more clarity and power and hello, joy. Do we remember what that is? Because I remember when I left academia 2 years ago almost, I didn't know what I liked doing anymore. I had completely lost myself in the institution. and I didn't know how to relax. I didn't know how to rest. I didn't know how to have fun anymore. So, time to reclaim that. So, if you haven't worked with me before or haven't met me, my name is Dr. Aurora Cheng, and I'm the CEO of Aurora Cheng Consulting, LLC. Like I said, I'm a recovering academic. I'm a former associate professor, department chair, and director of faculty development at George Mason University. I've authored 2 books, and I'm writing another one now, and 30 plus peer-reviewed articles and so forth. I like to say that I have gone from being an undocumented Guatemalan immigrant to a hyper-documented academic entrepreneur, and I have a whole paper on that in the Harvard Educational Review. And my mission is really to help folks, especially marginalized folks, transform their writing practice from the habitual to the magical. So let's do this thing. For me, writing is my living altar. And what I mean is it's a ritualistic process. I tend to it like a garden. I surround myself with beautiful things. I surround myself with pictures of my family. And I bring my whole self to my writing. And this is what I want you to do. My rage, my voice, my fears, my hopes, and my gratitude. And it's where I lay everything down and just let it be and respond to it and really cherish it, all of it. So, writing is also my living altar because writing is where you sow seeds, where you plant seeds for other people. So, people may read your writing and not be immediately affected. They may, but if they're not, it's you're already planting seeds, just like writing that you have read has planted seeds in you. And so the writing altar too is where I fall to my proverbial knees, where I say, this is it. This is me raw. This is me saying all the things I want to say and I'm scared to say, all the things I'm scared of to be critiqued of. And I'm just going to put it out there and I'm going to mold it. And I am going to really pay attention and honor it as my own. Because I think that writing consistently is actually about, it can be seen as devotion. We're devoted to the craft and the art of writing, to the act of speaking, to the act of showing up. How many of you, raise your hand, if you view your writing as something that is sacred? I'm curious. Okay, about half of you. And so this is something that for me really pushes me forward, right? And I invite those of you who don't think of it that way to just may not be your thing, that might not be your word, sacred, but how would it transform your writing if you viewed it more from a place of spirit and heart rather than mind, which academia likes us to focus only here, cut off your head and ignore your body. I'm asking you to do the opposite in your writing, is to listen to your body, that your body knows everything, has the answers to everything. So when your body feels tensed up, you've got to pay attention and do things to make it more relaxed. Same with the writing process. How does your body feel? And if it doesn't feel good or right, do what you need to do to make it. And so writing isn't just something to feel and believe, right? But it's something that you do. And today I invite you to join me in doing this work. And again, I invite you to join our Anchor Writing Collective. I can't tell you what a wonderful space it is. All right. So these are some of the things that I've said to myself. And I imagine, again, raise your hand if any of these, any and all of these apply to you. I'm going to read one at a time. You think to yourself, look at everything happening in the world. Does my writing really matter? Who cares about this tiny little subject? You avoid writing until it's unavoidable. And then you stress write in a frenzy right before the deadline. You wait for inspiration. wait and wait. And guess what? It never comes when you need it. It comes when you're on vacation. It comes when you're doing something else. Perfectionism is holding you back, but you don't know how to stop it. Number one for academics. We are such perfectionists. It absolutely puts us in a state of writing paralysis. It's about you judging yourself constantly and saying, this is not good enough. I'm going to change it. We've got to get out of that. That is very much a mindset that we've been socialized. It's not your fault. It's just that you're so used to doing that, but it's keeping you from being the authentic and engaging writer that is screaming to come outside of your body. You jump from idea to idea, but struggle to develop any one of them fully. How many clients have I talked to? They're like, I've got 5 papers that I've been sitting on my desktop, almost done. Some are ideas, but some are literally, I could hit submit tomorrow, but you won't do it. You are at a standstill. You have a brilliant idea, but you can't start writing because you want it to be perfect from the very first sentence. Where are you at? Is this you? You will not start writing unless that sentence is just beautiful. Let me tell you something. I know no one who writes a great first draft. No one. I've never met them, never will, because it's not a thing. Or you stare at a blank page feeling overwhelmed because you just don't know where to start. You have wonderful ideas, but you're like, hell, if I could just get what I'm feeling from this idea and convey it in writing, I would do it. So this is exactly where we've all been. And if you're nodding, if you're raising your hand, you're not alone. This is exactly what the anchor writing framework is about and is trying to, let's not say resolve, but really it's like a balm. It's like a healing balm in some ways until you just don't need it anymore because you've internalized that healing for yourself. All right, so what is Anchor? So Anchor is both a method and a mindset for writing, right? It's not just about getting words on a page, but it's about creating a system for yourself that feels sustainable, that gets you over your self-doubt and procrastination, and that ultimately leads to you being a happier writer. What would that look like? And let's talk about the word anchor for a moment, because obviously that choice was intentional when I was thinking about how to put these ideas together. So, an anchor grounds you, even in the middle of a storm. It keeps you steady no matter how chaotic things feel around you. And I don't know about you, but for me, writing can often feel like very rough waters, the pressure to perform. But when you have the right anchor, during these times, you don't have to drift aimlessly, which happens a lot in writing, right? We start going down the rabbit hole of, let me read one more article, then I'll be ready. Let me just look at that paragraph before, then I'll be ready. Let me just talk to my friend about this, then I'll be ready. You always have something to hold on to when you have an anchor, and that's what I want to talk to you about. You want to be tethered to this anchor, to your creative vision, to your why, to your voice, right? So let's break it down and see, what does anchor actually stand for? If you're ready, because I've been talking for a half an hour, if you're ready to actually hear about the framework, go ahead and raise your hand. Let me know that you're still here and present with me. Thank you, thank you. Wonderful. Okay. So A is for acknowledge. Acknowledge and name your block. So can we talk about something that we don't often talk about in writing? It's the word shame, because shame is one of the most powerful forces that can keep us from writing. I've never heard anyone talk about writing and shame before, but I have certainly felt it. It doesn't just slow us down, it actually can create an intense urge to avoid all work. Because who wants to feel shame? That is the worst feeling for me. We tell ourselves we're not good enough, that our ideas don't matter, that someone else has already said it better, that you're not really contributing. And before we even get a chance to start, we're already pushing our writing away, pushing the shame away. So, how do we transform shame into action? We say it out loud, we name it. And I don't know about you, but I've had so many instances in my life where I've been shamed for my writing. Raise your hand if that resonates with you, if anyone's ever shamed you for your writing. And yes, it can be your doctoral advisor or whoever. I will tell you that for me, many instances, but the ones that stand out in my mind are when I went to Berkeley for the first time, UC Berkeley, my undergrad. And I had gone to school in Richmond, California, which at the time the district had gone bankrupt. So for 6 months, the last 6 months of my senior year, I didn't go to school. I worked at the Social Security office, actually. But that's all to say that I was a straight A student in Richmond, California. But when I went to Berkeley, that A was not the same as other people's A's, okay? People that went to whatever country day school, Excelsior, had gone to boarding school, we were not on the same level. So the first time I got my Western Civilization paperback, because like a fool, I took a 5 unit Western Civilization class. It was a history and English class together as my first class as a freshman. And I got a D on the paper. And when I got the paper, she wrote a comment that said, "Where did you go to high school?" Fucked up. But that was just one example of shame that I felt around my ability to write. And as you could see, it never left me. But when I named it, I tamed the shame of it. I'm not going to feel shame about that. So I want you to take a minute right now and think about the biggest challenge that you're facing in writing right now. If you were to have to name that, what would that be? And as you're thinking about that, I want you to understand this from a very deep place in your soul, that writing struggles are not a reflection of your intelligence or your ability. Writing struggles are not a reflection of your intelligence or your ability. They are patterns, and patterns can be changed. But patterns take time and discipline to change, right? And today we're going to start that change from moving from avoidance to action and from shame to clarity and self worth. So let's keep going. Okay, N is for nurture, nurture your ideas, right? Because now that you've named what's holding you back, it's time to reconnect with your purpose. Because here's the truth, whatever you feed is going to grow. Does that resonate with anyone? Whatever you feed is going to grow, right? Think about your life. I'm not even talking about writing anymore. When you've been insecure about something, when you keep feeding that, it keeps growing. But when you reframe and start going, you know what? I am damn smart. I am amazing. I have so much to say. When you feed that, you'd be amazed at what will happen. So think of all of the horrific things you've told yourself as you write. It's terrible. We would never say these things to anyone. That's got to switch because you've got to feed the thing that you want to grow. If you want your writing to get better, don't feed those thoughts. Cut them off. Tell them off. Okay? Because we get caught up so much in whether our writing is quote unquote good enough that we forget why we started writing in the first goddamn place. Academia does that to you. It makes you lose the compass, right? You need the anchor back. Your words have the power to challenge norms, to affirm experiences, to make someone feel seen. And just like other writers have shaped your work and perhaps encouraged you to pursue your profession now, your words are going to do the same for someone else. So ask yourself now, what is the spark of your writing? Why Why is writing important to you? What grips you? What lights you up when you write? Because writing to me is an invitation, and you need to see it this way as a reconnection with something raw and original in us. Great writing is that thing that James Baldwin talks about, which is it's that thing that we feel like is going to ostracize us from everyone else. And when we write it, we realize it's the exact opposite. It's what connects us to everyone. So lean into those tensions, lean into that uniqueness of your lived experience. Let's talk about C, create. This is, I think, the thing that people, for the most part, hate the most is creating a plan, because we want to imagine writing as this beautiful, ethereal experience where we're just flowing with it and candles are lit and the birds are singing outside and the sun is shining. Well, it doesn't quite look like that. It looks like you being more tore up and just with your hair all over the place and your pajamas on and a lot of coffee. Okay. But the plan is everything, my friend, everything, because it'll take you from overwhelmed to organized. Because when you don't have a plan, you are literally walking aimlessly, literally. And that's appropriate sometimes, but not for the kind of writing we're talking about. So, one of the biggest reasons writing feels so overwhelming is because you think of it as I have to write the book, the article, the chapter, instead of just breaking it down into little parts. And that's why you create a timeline. In fact, with each of the clients that I work with, generally what we do is we start with a timeline, do backwards planning, right? And the other thing to keep in mind is that timelines are meant to change. Timelines are not a punitive measure. They are made to help you start tweaking them. And that is perfectly fine. And planning isn't about adding more pressure. Okay. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I don't, deadlines, they make me scared. And for other people, are like, I love deadlines. It's what makes me finish stuff, right? But planning is about creating a clear path forward. When you map out small steps, progress is predictable, right? And you can take control of the process rather than letting the process control you. So one of the keys to a successful plan is that when you're writing, you can actually say, I planned to write 200 words today, and I did that, or I did more than that, versus work on your writing. That goal has no endpoint, no beginning point, and you're always going to feel like a failure because you can't actually put your finger on it. You can't measure it. So create a plan. All right. We're getting it there. Harness. Step 4 is harness momentum. So now that we have a plan, let's talk about the thing that trips up a lot of writers, which is momentum. We often think that in order to write, we need to feel inspired. Oh, that would be so great if I could feel inspired every time I write. But I think I feel like 10% inspired, 90%, okay, I got to write this damn thing. But they all emanate from the same spirit of my why I want to write this thing, right? The key to momentum, you ready for this big top secret? The key to momentum is starting. Sorry, I know that's a buzzkill. Just starting. How many of you it's just so hard to start. So many of the clients that I write with, what I do is I help them just get started and then I pump them up. I know if they've reached out to me, they're incredible people because they've seen my website. And if that resonated with them, I already know we are kindred in our spirits. Using things like a writing prompt, using things like recording yourself, setting a timer, writing a placeholder instead of editing, just put a placeholder, a comment that says, come back to this later. This is going to be really good later. Leave it alone. Starting is the spark that creates momentum. And you might be thinking, oh my God, that seems so trite and whatever. It's the thing. Take it from someone who's written a lot and who continues to write a lot. If I start, I can get going. But if I keep avoiding it, it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. O is for overcome perfectionism, right? Perfectionism tells us that if it's not flawless, it's not worth writing. God, listen to that expectation. That is ridiculous. Flawless on the first try? Impossible. And don't even go there. It can be flawless later. But it's not, it convinces us that we need to rewrite every sentence before moving forward. It keeps us stuck, second guessing, and that is not helpful. The biggest enemy of progress is perfectionism in anything in life. You just got to jump. Try it. Why not? Write it the way you would talk. If you want to add academic language later, go ahead, but be you, be real. Writing is a process. Your first draft is supposed to be rough. That's why it's called a rough draft. Your second draft is supposed to be better. And none of that happens unless you start. Once you let go of perfectionism, let's talk about the final piece, which is reflect and revise. And this is, I'm not talking here really about revising your work in the traditional sense. I'm talking about actually resting, about actually you reflecting on your writing and then revising your mindset. Okay, so rest is vital to the creative process. And even as an academic, you are entering a creative process every time you write, even if we're not told that it's artistic or that's not conveyed to us. Rest is vital. It allows us to really sit with our thoughts and to be present with our writing. Stepping away from your writing is not abandoning it, right? It's giving your brain the space it needs to see your work clearly. It's like when you leave your kids at home for a weekend, it's not because you're abandoning them, you're just hitting reset. And then when you come back, sometimes you appreciate them even more. And that's what this is. When you're looking at your work, you want to be as rested as possible, whatever that means for you. So the way that I do revisions is big picture edits first, and then the grammar, style, and polish at the very end. Big picture is everything. It's just reading for flow, and reading it out loud is also very helpful. The whole point of this particular R in Reflect and Revise is you've got to step back to move forward. You've got to take some time to, and by the way, I don't mean leave it alone for 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. I'm talking like hours, overnight, a day, that kind of a thing, because it is important to touch your writing every day. That doesn't mean you have to actually write every day, but you have to be in relationship with it, whether it's looking it over or reading a little something about it. But that's what keeps the kind of fire in your writing. Otherwise, I don't know about you, but by the time you get back to it, you don't even remember what you've written anymore. and you're like, oh my God, now I've got to rekindle this romance with my writing. The way to do it is just to keep it alive every single day. Whew. Okay, that was the anchor writing framework. So here's the thing that happens if you don't adopt the framework or adopt ideas from the framework. You're going to stay stuck. Your ideas are going to stay unstructured and unclear, and you're going to waste time instead of making progress. You're going to struggle to stay motivated. Perfectionism is going to paralyze you, and you don't improve because you never finish. And so, how do you keep this anchor writing framework alive? You join a community that's going to keep you not just accountable, that word sounds punitive as well, but keeps you inspired and keeps you in that spirit. And so, just a recap of Anchor, and I will send all of you the Anchor writing workbook in a PDF form after this call. Acknowledge and name your block, nurture your ideas, create a plan, harness momentum, overcome perfectionism, and reflect and revise. And so think about which one of these steps resonated with you the most, and one tiny action you can take today to implement that particular letter in the acronym. Okay. So if you like the vibe of this framework, if you enjoyed spending time with me and you're ready to dive deeper, I want you to consider taking the full Anchor writing course, where we go deep into these methods with guided exercises, live coaching, and community support. And so, how do you do that? This tells you a bit about the course, right? So it's 12 pre-recorded modules. A new module drops each week. I think we have 3 up right now. And you access it through the Anchor Writing Collective. This is a beautiful space. Right now, we're small and intentional and growing, but what it includes, aside from the course, is a compassionate virtual writers community, collegial supporting connections, monthly writing platicas, which are heart-to-heart chats. We've already had 3 of them. Next up, we have Dr. Paige Gardner from Seattle University. She's going to be talking about recipes for writing as healing. There's a resource library and exclusive access, and it is to all kinds of resources. And it is $49 a month. So you can't beat that for an amazing community and for all of the resources that you're going to receive. You don't have to pay a thing. But I really would love to see you there, because I wake up every morning and check the Anchor Writing Collective, touch base with my peeps, and just get all kinds of good vibes. And we need good vibes right now. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much, you all. I am sending you all the amazing vibes, and just protect your peace and know that you're not alone. Thank you all. Bye-bye.